members of the media, and ladies and gentlemen. I'd like you to allow me to start off with the most important issue that is very current in our country at the moment. Two issues that have emerged as being of great concern to all of us as South Africans. And even before I do so, I think it would be appropriate that we should, as a collective here, men and women, pay our respects to those who have recently departed, the women of our country who have recently been killed at the hands of men in a very brutal fashion, as well as those who have died recently in the attacks that are happening against a number of people, both South African and foreign nationals. Could we rise and show our respect to those who have just recently departed? Thank you. It's most unfortunate that we're meeting at a time when we've just been going through a spate of horrible news with the killings that have been perpetrated against women in our country, just as we concluded Women's Month, where we hoped that as South Africans, particularly South African men, would be able to rise to the challenge of addressing the issue of gender-based violence and the perpetration of the killings of women in our country. The nation is in deep mourning. We are all deeply disturbed by the killings of the women who just died recently, and particularly Uyinene, a student here in the Western Cape. Throughout the length and the breadth of the country, the issue of femicide, killings of women, has raised its head in a very prominent way. We're hoping that it will enable our country to rise up to this challenge and address it much more forthrightly, and ensure that we bring an end to the abuse of women and children in our land. France, almost yesterday, was also addressing exactly the same issue. We've been addressing it for quite a long time. They've also had a situation where more than 125 women have been killed. It's a problem that is engulfing a number of countries, but it is much more prominent here in South Africa. It calls on us as men to rise up and to say that this should never happen in our name, and that as men we should stand up and say we want to bring an end, and we are going to bring an end to the abuse of women and children. And I'd also like to say that as a government we are recommitting ourselves to doing everything that we can through the various agencies that we have, the criminal justice system, to make sure that those who are accused of perpetrating this violence against women are brought to book and are dealt with in the most severe manner. People like that do not belong here in South Africa, and it is for this reason that the women of our country are rising up, but rising up calling on us as men to do something to bring an end to gender-based violence. But at the same time, we are also facing another huge challenge, the challenge of a number of our people who are taking the law into their own hands, much as they have certain grievances. And I've said that taking action against people from other nations is not justified and should never be allowed in our beautiful country. South Africa is a home for all. And indeed, we are not the only country that has become home for people who are fleeing from other nations. Now, countries like Uganda, they have millions of people from the surrounding countries who go to them. Countries like Kenya, they also have millions of people who throng to their land. And we as South Africans, we know that there are quite a number of other foreign people who come to our country, and we should make sure that we live side by side with them. And if there are problems and challenges, we should be able to find ways of addressing those problems and challenges. Whether it is problems of criminality that is perpetrated by people who may be coming from other countries, and indeed our own nationals as well. It does not mean that we should take the law into our own hands and attack those people. I want to commend our security forces for the actions that they have taken in arresting a number of people who've been perpetrating these acts of violence, and we are hoping that they will strengthen their resolve and make sure that today and the days that are coming we quell those incidents of unrest. South Africa must be a country where everyone feels safe, from women, from everyone, including foreign nationals, to be able to walk in our country, work in our country, play in our country, knowing that they are safe.